Elvis Presley was one of the most recognizable musicians of all time, and undoubtedly earned his nickname as the King of Rock and Roll. He's the man who revolutionized American pop music by melding country, gospel, and R&B styles. He was also a major movie star and a beloved sex symbol whose on-stage moves inspired generations of performers. Decades after his death in 1977, at the age of 42, Elvis Presley continues to sell albums around the globe and remains an indelible influence on the entertainment industry. Hello, fact lovers. How are we all doing today? I'm doing well myself. I thought it was a good time to do a facts video all about the King of Rock and Roll, Elvis Presley, as we have the Elvis movie being released as of the release of this video in just a couple of days' time. So it seemed to be the perfect time to learn more about Elvis, as I personally don't know a whole lot other than the basics. So here we have facts put together from two articles. One is courtesy of mentalfloss.com and the other is from facts.net. And I will link the articles in the description if you want to check them out. We have 21 facts about Elvis to cover today, and without further ado, it's time to lay back, relax, and let yourself drift away as I whisper facts about Elvis Presley today. Fact number 1. Elvis Presley is closely associated with Tennessee, but he was born in Mississippi. Though he'll forever be associated with Memphis, Tennessee, home to his Graceland mansion, Elvis Presley was actually born in Tupelo, Mississippi on January the 8th, 1935. It was there that Presley began to sing and play guitar, sometimes even bringing the instrument to school to play gospel music for his classmates. It wasn't until 1948, when the future king was 13 years old, that the Presley family moved to Memphis, Tennessee. And as I mentioned at the start of the video, what I know about Elvis is very basic. I don't know a whole lot about him, so for me a lot of this information is going to be brand new. And this is brand new information. I didn't even know that he was associated with the state of Tennessee. So he was actually born in the neighboring state of Mississippi. And he and his family then moved to Tennessee in 1948. I think that's a good piece of information to start off the video with. Fact number 2. music critics were fairly cruel to Elvis Presley in the early days of his career. Though Presley is one of music's most respected icons today, early on in his career, many critics mocked everything from his voice to his explicit dancing. He cannot sing, and his whole performance is crude and disgusting, columnist Dorothy Ricker wrote in the Tampa Bay Times in 1956, before predicting that in a comparatively short time he will be forgotten. Well, how wrong she was, and in an October 1957 column, Paul Coates of the Los Angeles Mirror went so far as to write that he'd like to smack that sneer off Elvis's face and send him out for a haircut. I think that's an extreme thing to say about Elvis. I'm not sure what Elvis could possibly have done to deserve such an insult from this person, Paul Coates, and equally so the comment from Dorothy Ricker about his performance being crude and disgusting. Well, these two people were made to eat their words because, of course, Elvis proved them wrong, and he became an absolutely massive star. Fact number 3. The cover of Elvis Presley's debut record influenced another classic rock album. Elvis's self-titled debut album, which was released in 1956, included classic hits like Blue Suede Shoes and his rendition of Little Richard's Tutti Frutti. Its cover imposed Presley's name in simple green and pink font on a candid photo of him singing, eyes closed and mouth agape, while strumming a guitar. Another classic album cover paid tribute to this decades later. The Clash's 1979 album London Calling depicts bassist Paul Simonon smashing his own instrument alongside similar text. And The Clash is a band that I do know, but I don't know a whole lot about them. But I do know the album London Calling and the song London Calling, which is a very good song. I think The Clash were a very big band in the 1970s and possibly the 1980s as well. Fact number 4. Elvis Presley's identical twin brother died at birth. Elvis had an identical twin brother, Jesse Garren Presley, who was stillborn. He was buried in a cemetery near the Presleys' Mississippi home soon after they were delivered. That's a very sad fact. So Elvis was in fact a twin, and his brother unfortunately died at birth. That is something that I've never ever came across before. And I wonder if his brother hadn't have died, what it would have been like for him growing up as a twin, and if his life would have went down the same path, or if it may have gone off in a different direction. You don't know, but in the end, he was born himself, and his brother unfortunately died. Fact number 5. A TV appearance earned Elvis Presley the nickname Elvis the Pelvis. Presley's stage persona drew as much attention as his music, especially after he suggestively gyrated his hips while singing Hound Dog on the June 5th, 1956 edition of NBC's The Milton Berle Show. The performance earned the 21-year-old the nickname Elvis the Pelvis, along with the ear of multiple religious leaders and critics in the media. At the same time, it also gained him the admiration of even more young fans. Fact number 6. Elvis Presley bought Graceland when he was 22 years old. Elvis's Memphis mansion, known as Graceland, is now a museum devoted to the king, who died there in 1977. Every year, hundreds of thousands of visitors flock to see Presley memorabilia and walk through the mansion's famously campy, tiki-influenced jungle room, where Elvis held some of his final recording sessions. Elvis was just 22 when he bought the estate in 1957 for just over $100,000. The mansion itself was named after Grace Doof, one of the original owners, and the mansion known as Graceland is probably one of the very few things that I did know about Elvis before making this video, and he bought it for just over $100,000 in 1957, and I'm not sure how that would convert to modern day money, but it does seem quite low even for that time. I'm not sure exactly, but yeah, Graceland, a very famous place associated with Elvis, and I like the fact that it's now a museum for people to visit and learn more about his life. And if it was possible, I would certainly love to visit Graceland and have a look. I think it would be a fantastic experience. Fact number 7. Elvis Presley got special permission to postpone his army service film King Creole. I'm not exactly sure of the pronunciation of this film, but it is spelled C-R-E-O-L-E, Creole. Elvis received his army draft notice in December 1957, much to the dismay of the legions of fans who wrote to the military urging that their hero be excused from service. He was granted an 8-week deferment to finish filming the movie King Creole before starting basic training in March 1958. Presley, who was clear that he didn't want any special treatment, spent 2 years in the army, including 18 months in Germany, where he was promoted to sergeant. His service even inspired the hit musical Bye Bye Birdie, about a teen idol named Conrad Birdie being drafted into the army. Fact number 8. Elvis Presley's love of fatty foods was prodigious, especially if bacon was involved. Elvis is famously associated with a sandwich made with peanut butter, bacon, and banana, then pan-fried in butter like an even fattier grilled cheese. Oh my goodness. I don't think I like the sound of that at all. It wasn't his only extreme dietary indulgence, though the king also enjoyed deep-fried pickles and is said to have once flown from Memphis to Denver just for a massive fool's gold loaf sandwich, which involves stuffing a pound of bacon, a jar of peanut butter, and a jar of jelly inside a buttery loaf of hollowed out French bread. Oh my goodness. Well, I think that we all have our guilty pleasure, things that we know we shouldn't eat, but we do anyway. And I have to say, I do like bacon a lot, and sausages, but I actually read a leaflet not too long ago, probably 2 to 3 months, and it was basically giving you a warning about certain foods that you should avoid or certainly cut down on. And the ones that stood out to me were bacon and sausages, and I didn't eat them a whole lot prior to reading this leaflet, but since I read it, I have cut them out of my diet. But yeah, it's completely up to the individual what they do and how they treat their body, but I don't think there's anything wrong with occasionally treating yourself to some of these foods. It's completely up to the individual. Fact number 9. Elvis Presley had a habit of shooting at appliances and other household items. Most famously, Elvis once opened fire at a Graceland television that was showing a performance by crooner Robert Goulet. I think that may be. It's spelled Goulet. Years later, Graceland spokesman Kevin Kern told the Associated Press that the incident was nothing against Goulet personally, saying Elvis just shot out things on a random basis. In a sort of strange twist, Priscilla Presley ended up starring opposite Goulet many years later in 1991's The Naked Gun, 2.5, The Smell of Fear. And I think the main movies that I know Priscilla Presley for are the Naked Gun movies. I think they are so funny. Starring opposite Leslie Nielsen, who was a very funny comedic actor, known for some very funny roles, but yeah, I love the Naked Gun movies, and I have to admit I don't know who Robert Goulet is. I have an idea who he might be, but I would have to look that up. Presley also built a firing range at Graceland and reportedly had a habit of floating flash bulbs in his pool and shooting at them as he indulged on watermelon. That's quite a very random fact there, probably one of the most random that we will hear within this video today. Fact number 10. Elvis Presley appeared in more than 30 movies throughout his career. Elvis appeared as an actor in 31 movies between 1956 and 1972, including Jailhouse Rock, G.I. Blues, and Girls, Girls, Girls. The films and Presley's performances were often panned by critics, but at the peak of Elvis's career, they brought his devoted fans to movie theaters in droves. Then to record stores to pick up the soundtracks that accompanied the movies. In all, only one of Elvis's movies lost money at the box office, 1961's Wild in the Country. And I don't recall seeing any of his movies in full, but I do remember a number of years ago a movie being on TV. I think it was a Saturday afternoon maybe, and it could potentially have been Jailhouse Rock. I'm not 100% sure, but it was in black and white, I remember that much. And I remember watching it and thinking, this is cool, this is Elvis in one of the movies that he starred in. And I found myself being quite interested in the movie, but it was a good few years ago now and I don't remember anything about the movie. But yeah, no doubt he was also a big film star as well as being big within the music industry. 31 movies in all between 1956 and 1972. That's very impressive. Fact number 11. Elvis Presley's daughter, Lisa Marie Presley, has her own music career. While she'll forever be known as Elvis Presley's only child, and for marriages to Michael Jackson and Nicolas Cage, Lisa Marie Presley is also a musician in her own right. She has released 3 albums, including the 2003 Gold Certified release, To Whom It May Concern, and has collaborated with a wide array of musicians, including Smashing Pumpkins lead singer Billy Corgan, rock icon Pat Benatar, who joined his daughter for a duet of Don't Cry Daddy, thanks to some clever editing of the original recordings. So yeah, this is more brand new information to me, and I had no idea that Elvis's daughter was married to both Michael Jackson and Nicolas Cage. That is a really fascinating fact, and I'm actually interested to look her up, Lisa Marie Presley, just to see if I do recognize her. I'm not sure that I would. I don't have a particular interest in the celebrity world. I do know some celebrities more than others, but in general, I don't really follow celebrities' lives and who their children are, who they are married to, etc. Fact number 12. Elvis Presley's photo with Richard Nixon is one of the most requested at the National Archives. Once called a threat to American decency, Elvis wrangled a meeting with President Richard Nixon in 1970. "I'm on your side," Presley told the president, while clad in a distinctive purple velvet suit. Nixon also arranged for Elvis, who collected police insignia, to get a souvenir badge from the Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs. The NARC badge represented some kind of ultimate power to him, then-wife Priscilla Presley wrote in her memoir. In 2015, the US National Archives confirmed that the photo of Elvis and Nixon shaking hands gets more requests for reproduction by the public than any other in its collection. And this particular photo in question I have included in this video, and I think it's a really interesting image as well. Fact number 13. Elvis Presley had a black belt in karate. While stationed in Germany with the army, Presley began studying karate, which would remain a passion for him throughout his life. He was awarded his 7th degree black belt in 1972, and he used his knowledge of the fighting technique to choreograph combat scenes in his movies. He would even show off some of his moves on stage during concerts. I think that's a really cool fact that he was a black belt in karate, so yeah, clearly somebody that you didn't want to get on the wrong side of, or you could live to regret it. Fact number 14. Elvis Presley's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, was only kind of a colonel. Elvis's career was managed by Colonel Tom Parker, known for his strict control over his performances and for taking half of Elvis's earnings as his fee. Despite being called Colonel, Parker never came close to the rank when in the army. It was an honorary title he received from country singer and songwriter Jimmy Davis after Parker aided Davis's successful bid for Louisiana governor. Fact number 15. Elvis Presley had a pet menagerie at Graceland. Once he moved to Graceland, Elvis had no shortage of animals on site, from donkeys and a monkey to more conventional pets like dogs and horses. There was even a minna bird that learned to mimic strings of profanity while hanging around Elvis and his friends. Visitors to Graceland can see the horses the museum keeps today in honor of Elvis and his array of animals. And I think that's a really nice fact, that he was such a big animal lover. I always say that I tend to trust people more if they are animal lovers compared to people who don't show respect to animals. It's one of those things. I think it says a lot about somebody's character if they're animal lovers or not. And I myself, I'm a big animal lover. Fact number 16. Elvis Presley had one of the most successful concert residences in history. The singer of Viva Las Vegas once performed a now astonishing 636 sold-out shows at Vegas's International Hotel, appearing twice a night, 7 days a week, beginning in 1969. The appearances cemented a career resurgence that began with a comeback special, which aired on NBC in 1968. Years after Elvis and other early rockers had yielded the pop charts to newer acts like the Beatles in the early 60s, the King was back. Fact number 17. Elvis Presley never performed outside of North America. Although his music remains popular around the world, Elvis Presley almost never performed abroad. In fact, his only appearances outside the United States were all in Canada. The reason why is unclear, although it's often been suggested that the decision may have been related to the uncertain immigration status of his longtime manager, Netherlands-born Colonel Tom Parker. And I'm very surprised, I have to say, that Elvis never performed outside of North America. I probably would have thought that he would have toured around the world, so that is a very big surprise. But I think that it shows just how big of a star he was. Even though he never performed outside of North America, I think he still well known all over the world. So yeah, that just shows what a huge star he was. Fact number 18. Elvis Presley popularized quick weddings in the city of Las Vegas. In the film Viva Las Vegas, Elvis Presley had a quick marriage with his co-star Anne Margaret. Due to the success of the film, Las Vegas began to popularize the idea of white little chapels and shotgun weddings in the city. Later on, Elvis also had a real wedding in the city of Las Vegas with his wife Priscilla. Today, many of these chapels within the city serve not only as a venue for quick weddings, but also as a tourist attraction. And yeah, I think we've all seen these quick weddings featured on TV shows and movies and things of that nature. And the one that comes to my mind is from season 5, I think it was, of Friends, when Chandler and Monica went to get married at one of these quick wedding chapels, and that was put off because Ross and Rachel actually beat them to it. They were very drunk and they came out of the chapel in front of them. But yeah, that's what that makes me think about, and it's interesting to learn that Elvis Presley actually popularized the quick weddings in Las Vegas. Fact number 19. He was considered a germaphobe. According to his wife, Elvis considered himself an extreme germaphobe. Often, Elvis would drink from the part of the mug that was above the handle, knowing full well that others would not drink from a mug like this. Elvis would also only use one cup that only he could use. All in all, his wife described his habits to be religious when it comes to avoiding germs and dirt. And I have to admit that I do consider myself to be somewhat of a germaphobe, even more so since the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm just very careful when it comes to touching things, especially in public. Things like door handles, things of that nature. I do tend to bring gel with me wherever I go. I just think it's safer. I feel safer to use it, and I don't feel embarrassed to use it, even as things start to calm down a little bit with the pandemic. But I completely understand where Elvis was coming from with this particular fact. Fact number 20. Many believe that Elvis Presley might have faked his death due to his condition before the announcement of his death. Many turn to believe that Elvis faked his death to run away from the fame and the spotlight. At the time, this was considered to be a common occurrence with large musical celebrities such as Jim Morrison and Tupac. During his musical career, Elvis had recorded over 600 songs and became one of the most commonly impersonated celebrities in the world. Despite the tragic end of his legacy, he was considered one of the greatest icons in early pop culture. Yeah, this is something that I've always known about, that there is theories floating around that Elvis did indeed fake his own death, but I don't believe it. I just think it would be far too difficult to do that and to disappear and never be seen of again. So I tend to believe that he did indeed die, unfortunately, at a very young age, as we're about to learn in this final fact. Fact number 21, and this is indeed the last fact of our video. Elvis Presley died from a heart attack in 1977. Around the time of his death, Elvis Presley had been in very poor health. He suffered from high blood pressure, an enlarged colon, and also had glaucoma and liver damage. Later on, his autobiography also revealed that Elvis suffered from a genetic heart muscle disease called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. This eventually led to the fatal heart attack in 1977. Well guys, we are almost out of time for today's episode, but I really enjoyed learning more about Elvis, the King of Rock and Roll, and it's actually made me curious about the upcoming movie, as I don't know anything about it or even who stars in it. So I'm going to look that up right after I'm done with this video. But if you enjoy these facts about Elvis, be sure to hit the like button to support the channel, drop a comment down below, and consider subscribing if you haven't done so. If you're interested in more celebrity figures, movies, and entertainment in general, check out my playlist in the description, and you might find something of interest there. But a huge thank you once again for joining me today, and until next time, rest easy, sleep well, and I hope to see you again very soon for another video. And goodbye for now.